Is Fox McCloud from Star Fox actually really playable in Dungeons & Dragons? Well, if you mix everything from the Star Fox games along with his playability in Smash Bros, I think he comes out to an absolutely amazing playable character. But we have to cover both styles of games in one build. First, start with species. There's no fox-like character in D&D technically, but they did update the shifter with the latest Eberron book. And shifters are animal-like creatures. They get the feature Bestial Instincts, giving them proficiency in one particular type of skill, so we'll pick up acrobatics, but most importantly, they get shifting. So as a bonus action, they can take on a more bestial appearance. The transformation lasts for 1 minute, and when they shift, they get temporary hit points equal to 2 times your proficiency bonus, and you can shift a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, recharging on a long rest. Then you have to choose a particular type of shifting. You can technically change the type of shifting you do every time you shift, getting Beast Hide for some temp HP, Long Tooth to be able to attack with a bite attack, Wild Hunt for advantage on wisdom checks. But as a fox, you're pretty quick. And most of the playstyle of Fox in Smash Bros is especially quick. So we're going to be focusing on the Swift Stride shifting ability. So while you're shifted, your speed is increased by 10 feet. And you can move up to 10 feet as a reaction when a creature ends its turn within 5 feet of you, without provoking any opportunity attack. Then as a background, I really want to lead into the star part of Star Fox as much as possible and take a background from Spelljammer, which is essentially a space campaign in Dungeons & Dragons. So we're going to take the Astral Drifter background as you drift through the void of space. This gives us skill proficiencies in Insight and Religion, and it gives us Magic Initiate from the Cleric spell list. So we get to pick up 2 cantrips and 1 spell. We'll grab Guidance since you do help guide the rest of your team as you are the leader of your space fleet. And then we'll grab Sacred Flame because you do kind of have the ability to light yourself on fire as you launch through the air. So just assume as you fly through the air, you hit somebody with Sacred Flame. But to boost up your defense a bit, we'll also grab the first level spell, Shield of Faith, boosting your armor class by 2 as long as you're concentrating on the spell. This can also tie in to his shielding ability that he pops up with in Smash Bros, where he blocks incoming attacks. Then we're going to be doing a multi-class with this build, but I want to start off with a more quick fighting style, especially since he can do those rapid fire kicks that can get very annoying to deal with in Smash Bros. So we're going to be starting with a monk. When you become a monk, you get martial arts. So you get proficiency in simple weapons and martial weapons that have the light property, but you can make an unarmed strike as a bonus action, and those unarmed strikes get boosted in damage. Currently doing a d6 of damage plus your dexterity or strength modifier, but we're going to be leaning into that dex, and the damage die increases as you level up in monk. And I should note that since you can use dexterity for unarmed strikes, you can also use them with any of your monk weapons. First level of monk also gives us unarmored defense, so your armor class equals 10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your wisdom modifier, as long as you're not wielding any armor or a shield. And at second level of monk, you get Monk's Focus. So you get a number of focus points equal to your level in monk, and you can use them for a variety of things, but you also have a few free things you can do as well. Like in general, monks can do an unarmed strike as a bonus action, but they can also spend 1 focus point for Flurry of Blows to get 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. They also get the feature Patient Defense. So they can take the disengage action as a bonus action, or they can spend 1 focus point to disengage and dodge as their bonus action. And the final option is Step of the Wind. So they can take the dash action as a bonus action, which is pretty key for Fox's ability to dash through enemies. So you can dash through somebody and hit them at the same time. Then you can spend 1 focus point to take the disengage and dash actions as a bonus action, and your jump distance is doubled for the turn, so you can really launch yourself up with that fire. Second level of monk also gives you unarmored movement, so your movement speed is boosted by 10 feet. While you aren't wearing armor or a shield, and that bonus increases as you level up in monk. The final thing you get at second level of monk is Uncanny Metabolism. So when you roll initiative, you can regain all of your focus points and heal yourself for a number of hit points equal to your monk level plus the number you roll on a martial arts die. But you can only use this feature once per long rest. Then at third level of monk, you get Deflect Attacks. So you now have that reflector shield to be able to bounce projectiles back away from you. because you can take a reaction to reduce any bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage by an amount equal to 1d10 plus your dexterity modifier and your monk level. And if you reduce it all the way to 0, you can spend 1 focus point to redirect the attack at somebody else. Then at 3rd level of monk, you get to choose a monk subclass. And this is very, very important because Fox has a little laser blaster he uses pretty often, and he uses it pretty quickly as well. But monks don't really have the ability to use those usually. But we're going to choose the monk subclass, Path of the Kensai, giving us some additional options. This allows us to choose 2 Kensai weapons, 1 melee weapon and 1 ranged weapon. There's no limitation other than it has to lack the heavy and special properties, except you can still choose a longbow if you wanted to. But what we're going to choose is a laser pistol. They're actually an option in D&D, so I think it really works, but if you are in a more low-tech type of game, you can also just as easily choose a hand crossbow. With these Kensai weapons, you get some additional features, like agile parry. So when you make an unarmed strike as part of the attack action on your turn, and you're holding a Kensai weapon, you can use it to defend yourself if it's a melee weapon, giving you a +2 bonus to your armor class until the start of your next turn, as long as the weapon is still in your hand. But we're more focused on the ranged weapon. And the feature we get with this is Kensai Shot. So you can use your bonus action on your turn to make your ranged attacks with a Kensai weapon much more deadly. When you do so, any target you hit with the ranged attack using a Kensai weapon takes an extra 1d4 of the weapon's damage type. This remains active just for 1 turn though. At 4th level of monk, we get an ability score improvement. So here is our ability scores. Focusing mostly on dexterity, but we need some wisdom for our monk stuff, and we want some good charisma because you're the leader of your Starfleet. Then we're going to be focusing more on dexterity, boosting it up by 2 points. 4th level of monk gives us slow fall, so you can take a reaction to reduce your fall damage by an amount equal to 5 times your monk level. Then at 5th level of monk, you get extra attack, so you can attack twice with your attack action on your turn. Then also at 5th level, you get stunning strike. So when you hit with a monk weapon or an unarmed strike, you can expend 1 focus point to attempt to stun an enemy, forcing them to make a con save, and if they fail, they're stunned. If they don't fail, their speed is halved until the start of your next turn, and the next attack against them has advantage. 6th level of monk gives you empowered strikes, so your unarmed strikes can deal force damage if you want them to. And thanks to being a Kensai monk, you get 1 with the blade. So your attacks with Kensai weapons count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistances and immunities to non-magical attacks and damage. So if you weren't using a laser pistol and you were just using a hand crossbow, now it becomes magical, so it still feels like you're shooting a laser blast. But thanks to 1 with the blade, you also get deft strike, so when you hit a target with a Kensai weapon, you can expend 1 focus point to cause the weapon to deal extra damage equal to your martial arts die. But you can only use this feature once per turn. 7th level of monk gives you evasion, so when you have to make a dex save to avoid taking damage, you take half damage, and if you succeed, you take 0 damage. 8th level of monk gives us another ability score improvement, so let's go ahead and throw 2 more points into dexterity. And then in 9th level of monk, you get acrobatic movement. So you gain the ability to run across vertical surfaces and across liquids. 10th level of monk gives you heightened focus, so your flurry of blows gets upgraded to make 3 unarmed strikes instead of just 2, so you can do that really annoying non-stop kick attack that you can do in Smash Bros. And just button mash as much as possible. Or you can use patient defense to get some temp HP when you use the feature, or step of the wind, so you can bring somebody along for the ride when you're dashing around. Also at 10th level, you get self-restoration, so you can remove the charmed, frightened, or poisoned condition from yourself. 11th level of being a Kensai monk gives you sharpen the blade, so you gain the ability to augment your weapon with your focus points. You can expend up to 3 focus points to grant 1 Kensai weapon you touch bonus to the attack and damage rolls when you attack with it. The bonus equals the amount of focus points you added, and that bonus lasts for 1 minute. So that means you can have a +3 bonus to your blaster. Then at 12th level of monk, you get an ability score improvement. And I want to focus on the idea that you are a leader. So we're going to take the feat Inspiring Leader. This gives you the feature Bolstering Performance. So when you take a short or long rest, you can give an inspiring performance, whether it's a speech, song, or dance. And then up to 6 allies within 30 feet of you gain temp HP equal to your character level, plus the ability score modifier that you increase with this feat. And we're going to be boosting up our charisma here, and it's going to make more sense why we are focusing on charisma in just a second. But at 13th level, you get deflect energy. So now you can use the deflect attacks feature against any damage type, not just bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. So that reflector shield you have access to can straight up bounce back energy blasts that would have hit you and bounce them right back at your enemies. And that was one feature I had to make sure I grabbed. Now it's time to do a multi-class. And you can do this multi-class basically at any point during this build. I just like splitting it up here because it's nice and neat. Because now we're going to be diving into some bard. Fox might not seem like a bard, but there's a particular type of bard that's going to be pretty helpful in a moment. Becoming a bard gives you bardic inspiration, so you can inspire your allies as a bonus action, giving them a bardic inspiration die that they can use to add to a d20 roll. The die is only a d6 now, but at level 5 of bard, you can actually boost it to a d8. Also at first level of bard, you get some spell casting. So when it comes to the cantrips, we'll grab Blade Ward so you have another defensive option, but I also want to grab Starry Wisp. Think of this as another way to do a laser blast because it literally just shoots out a shining bolt of energy. Then when it comes to some first level spells, there's a handful that I would grab. First is Command, as you're more of a commander amongst your party. Heroism, which allows you to constantly have some refilling temp HP for whoever you cast this on. Silvery Barbs, which allows you to force disadvantage on an attack while at the same time giving somebody else advantage. You can think of this as doing a barrel roll. Then to have some lock-on targeting while being in your spaceship, grab Fairy Fire. It gives advantage on a huge group of enemies. Second level of Monk gives us Jack of all trades, so any skills that you aren't proficient in, you get to add half your proficiency bonus. Then at third level of Bard, you get to choose a Bard subclass, and this is probably the most important part because we're going to be going with the College of Creation. This gives you the feature Mote of Potential, so when you use your Bardic Inspiration, you can create a tiny mote of potential. So if a creature uses the Bardic Inspiration for an ability check, they can actually roll their Bardic Inspiration twice and use either roll, or they can use it for an attack roll, dealing some thunder damage with the attack, or they can use it on a saving throw, giving some temp HP when they do the save. You also get the feature Performance of Creations, so you can actually create an item if you want to, but also at third level of Bard, you get access to second level spellcasting. So we'll grab Heat Metal, since you are coming up against a lot of machinery, and Heat Metal can really be helpful there. Kinetic Jaunt to help boost up your speed and how you move around the battlefield, and then grab Shatter. This is going to replicate you having a bomb that you shoot out in outer space because it's an AoE thunder attack. At fourth level of Bard, you get an ability score improvement. And while we haven't really shown how we're getting his fighter jet spaceship thing yet, we are going to be getting it very, very soon. So I want to grab the feat Mounted Combatant. This allows us to throw 1 point into Wisdom, finally rounding out that score and helping our unarmored defense. But we also get a bunch of features, like Mounted Strike. So you have advantage on attack rolls against any unmounted creature within 5 feet of your mount that is at least one size smaller than the mount. You can also use Leap Aside, so if your mount is subject to an effect that allows it to make a dex save to only take half damage, it instead takes no damage if it succeeds on the saving throw or half damage if it fails. But you have to be on your mount in order for this benefit to occur. Finally, you have the option for Veer. So while mounted, you can force any attack that hits your mount to hit you instead, as long as you don't have the incapacitated condition. And considering you will probably have more health than your mount, that is going to be very helpful. Otherwise, your ship is just going to explode every 2 seconds. Fifth level of being a bard gives you Font of Inspiration, so you can recharge your bardic inspiration on a short or long rest, or expend a spell slot to regain one of your bardic inspirations. You also get access to third level spells. There's not a whole lot that fits, so I would just grab Slow. It's just a great way to nerf your enemies. And then finally, the one thing I've been waiting for is the 6th level College of Creation feature, Animating Performance. This allows you to create what they call a dancing item, but this is a construct that you can summon into existence, but it also doesn't require concentration. And most importantly, it has a walking speed or a flying speed. So if you're in your tank or if you're in your spaceship / fighter jet thing, either one of these works as your mount, because it also can be a large construct, meaning you can ride it. It's immune to poison and psychic damage. It's immune to being charmed, exhausted, poisoned, or frightened. It has some dark vision because it can do its own attacks. And when any creature starts its turn within 10 feet of this construct, that creature's speed can be increased or decreased by 10 feet. Then it has the ability to attack with Force Empowered Slam. This is a melee weapon attack, but it uses your spell attack modifier to hit, dealing 1d10 plus your proficiency bonus as force damage. It's kind of a shame it doesn't have a ranged attack, but I guess you're just going to have to do the blasting while you're riding. Then at 7th level of Bard, you get access to 4th level spells. So there's 2 spells I would grab. First is Fount of Moonlight. This wreathes you in bright light and makes your melee attacks deal an extra 2d6 radiant damage, and possibly blind some of your enemies. You want to use this when you're launching yourself up, because you can use Step of the Wind as a monk to get some better jumping, and you can use that to jump back onto the map, but also deal some damage with Fount of Moonlight as you're wreathing yourself in radiant light, but you can just as easily say it's a radiant fire. Then the other spell we want to grab is Backlash. This is another way to add in your Reflector Shield. This is a spell you can cast as a reaction, and it allows you to ward yourself against destructive energy, reducing any damage that you would take by 4d6 plus your spellcasting modifier. And if the triggering damage is from a creature within 60 feet, you can force the creature to make a Constitution saving throw. Otherwise, the creature takes 4d6 force damage, and even if it succeeds, it still takes half damage. It's just a great way to bounce some damage back at your enemies. Then the very last thing you get is Counter Charm at level 7 of being a bard, just giving you another way to get rid of charmed and frightened conditions, even though you already have that as a monk. And that brings you to 20 levels overall, which is max level in D&D, usually. And that's how I build Fox McCloud from Star Fox and Super Smash Bros. As a playable character in Dungeons & Dragons. Got plenty of blasting, some quick attacks, and you can still ride in a spaceship or in a tank. The character sheet for this build and all of my other builds are available up on Patreon, linked in the comments and description down below. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, let me know by hitting that like button. And I'll be here hoping to roll at least 3 nat 20s in your next D&D session.